All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Go Throw Show. This is episode number 6, brought to you guys by Flight Factory Discs. Big thanks to Flight Factory Discs for sponsoring this. They have thousands of discs in stock, all the manufacturers. Go check them out, flightfactorydiscs.com. Today, my guest, one of the best putters in the world, good friend of mine, newly switched sponsors. 2022 is going to be a big season for this guy, Matt Bell. How we doing, man?
Doing good, Luke. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. You know, you're living in New Jersey these days, so to get you back in Oklahoma, here at Amy and Kent's house is special, man. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
How's the off season been going for you?
It's been going good. Like you said, I'm New Jersey's newest pro, so I've been making the rounds out there, playing some events and hanging out with the locals.
Pushing some locals around, letting them know who's boss.
Oh yeah, doing the team challenge too, helping them out, getting some W's for them, and yeah, it's been fun.
You have you done any course building efforts up there yet? I know that you have one here in Oklahoma that you built.
Yeah, I was able to design a championship course here, right between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. I do have plans to design a course in Jersey over the next season or two, but I've just been a little too busy right now to do that.
Not as much space up there in Jersey either. You kind of got to pick and choose a little better.
Yeah, definitely.
You are the proud new owner of a vehicle as well. I mean, you showed up in a new whip yesterday I hadn't seen before. Pretty clean, man. What's up with that?
Well, that's actually how I ended up here. I came back to buy a new car. I got a good deal on a new Colorado, so be driving the truck around next year.
Nice, and maybe pulling something behind it to chill on, you and the lady?
I think I'm going to build something in the back.
Okay.
Maybe a little custom cabin back there for those nights when I need somewhere to sleep. You know?
Do you have the woodworking expertise to do all this, or you got somebody that would help you?
I'm pretty handy with some tools, and you know, there's some designs out there that are simple enough. I'll be able to get something going.
No doubt. Didn't mean to insinuate that you weren't handy with the tools, but you are the fresh new owner of a couple different sponsors. That's one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about. One of the things that I'm sure the people wanted to hear about, EV7, as well as ThoughtSpace Athletics, which I don't know a ton about. Tell us a little more about ThoughtSpace.
ThoughtSpace Athletics was you know, a pretty easy choice for me as far as working with them, considering, you know, how high of quality their discs are, how high of quality their stamps are that they make. You know, they put in a tremendous effort to get all their stamps as good as possible, and, you know, just be able to step my game up with having the highest quality gear available. Yeah,
totally. I've seen some of the stuff they've done with Nate Perkins, Simon Lizotte, Eagle McMahon in the past, and some intricate, very cool, artistic stamps. You know, this is more than just your normal stuff. So what else do they, you know, they're making discs now, but what else are they into?
You know, they do a lot of designs for various players and companies, like you said, and then they're working on coming out with more molds. They actually have a new driver coming out called the Synapse.
Oh, really? We can talk about this, huh?
Yeah, I just got PDGA approved the other day, so cat's out of the bag on that one.
Okay.
And it's going to be my Tour Series disc as well this year. So.
The Synapse.
Yeah.
Is it a full speed fairway?
It's a full speed, it's a hot driver, it goes far.
Okay.
You know, it's got some good stability to it, but then when you turn it over, it'll just go forever.
Yeah,
so
it'll hold the line.
Definitely be a bomber.
Look forward to seeing you throwing some of that stuff this year. Is your bag open after that, or what else do you see yourself throwing?
They also have the Vodum, which is a overstable fairway driver. I'll be throwing that one a lot on tour, as well as their mid-range, the Pathfinder.
Okay.
So those will be like the main staples in my bag from ThoughtSpace.
I got you.
And then my other big pickup this year is with EV7.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
So I'll be putting with the Penrose.
And we saw Drew do some amazing things with that disc last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. That round he had at the Tour Championships was all time. It was ridiculous.
He hit 2 circle threes in a row and then 3 circle threes in 4 holes.
Yeah.
It turned his game around. I think that, you know, his putting had gotten better before it, but that's something to be said for it, for sure. Yeah. It's not like your putting was shabby beforehand, you know?
It wasn't too bad.
No.
I've only been putting with it a couple months, and I've already had a couple rounds where, you know, I made everything plus some, so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to to get that out there on the
Yeah.
tournament scene.
Along with you'll be with OTB again this year.
Yes.
Shout out to
Yes.
Danny,
Yeah.
Aaron, and the boys over there in Stockton.
Oh yeah.
Right on. And is there anybody else that I'm forgetting?
Ridge Roller
Okay.
is going to be my bag sponsor
Yeah.
again.
Nice.
Been with them for a few seasons.
Yeah.
So we're working on something together to do for this season.
Right on.
And T-Box Socks as well, I think, is going to have some signature Matt Bell socks coming out
Yeah,
soon.
you always do the high sock thing. I mean,
yeah.
You can't do them with those fresh things on right there, but
Yeah, no.
those are pretty clean right there.
I'll have to get some Red Sox to match.
Right on. Right on. Well, is there anything else that 22 is going to bring that you might be able to let these people in on? It might not be anything, but.
Well, for me personally, I feel like last season I was able to stay pretty consistent, playing probably the most conservative I have on tour. You know, we saw the talent level increase, and I was able to, stay in the mix at least in all the events, playing what I felt like was very conservative. I didn't really have any drivers in my bag that I felt comfortable unleashing further than that 450 range.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of settled back and made sure I cashed at every event just to keep the tour going.
Yeah.
And, with my new sponsors and everything this next season, and having some options with my drivers
Yeah.
to where I feel like I'll be ready to unleash some discs next year and play a lot more aggressive. And
Yeah.
I think that'll translate to some better results for me next year.
Yeah, I think when we're seeing Matt Bell play his best golf, he is an aggressive player.
Yeah.
Taking full speeds off the tee.
Mm-hmm.
You're really good at scrambling. You rely on that. And then, of course, just getting yourself anywhere inside circle 2, you've got an opportunity to knock that thing down. So, yeah, that's the Matt Bell game that we've come to know and love. The one that won the 2019 Delaware. Went on a little streak there, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I was starting to get pretty hot.
Dude, that's right about the time we were hanging out. I was touring in the Pro Discus RV. You were staying in some hotels. You had just met G, who's your girlfriend now. And
Yes.
I don't know, do you think that she had something to do with that streak you went on or what?
I'm sure it did have something to do with
Yeah.
it. It was just a great time
Yeah.
for my game and great time for my personal life,
Yeah.
and we've just had a great relationship, and she supported me 100%.
Mm-hmm. A good disc golfer in her own right.
Yes, she is, yeah. She
And-
hasn't been playing very long, but, for her skill level, she maxes it out
Yeah.
consistently.
And she's really good at putting. No surprise that she's affiliated with you and turning into someone who's good on the greens. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was already a good putter when I met her, and she's only getting better.
that's
so.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you won the Delaware Challenge, your first national tour win.
Mhm.
And then within a couple weeks, you took down Stafford Woods and the Greater Hartford Open.
Correct.
That was
yeah.
an impressive run you went on.
Thank you, yeah.
Only ended by our mining accident.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
We don't like
definitely.
talking about, really. I especially don't like talking about, but
Yeah, no. But for those that don't know,
might as well tell it.
might as well tell the story.
Mm.
But we were in a quarry in Georgia.
Yeah, Mount Graves, one of the oldest mines in the United States.
Yeah, and we were taking turns holding a stake and hitting it with a 8-pound sledgehammer.
Dude, a big sledgehammer, probably too big, but yes.
Oh man.
Looking back, I mean, if you
People
just
ask me like, why was I holding it?
yeah,
And the answer is no one else would.
yeah,
Somebody's got to hold it,
it's
right?
probably true, right? And I mean, I felt like I was somewhat trustworthy at the time. I mean, we
Oh, yeah.
we obviously had the accident, so things didn't go properly, but
No, you were hitting it clean, but
yeah,
ended up getting this knuckle
popped, man.
crushed.
Dude.
Somehow nothing broke though.
I pulled back as hard as I could, and that's probably the only thing that kept it from
Oh, yeah.
breaking. But
Yeah, it
almost
bounced off.
immediately, it blew up.
Yeah.
It was hard to tell what was going to happen. Dude, I'm so happy that nothing ended up, being too terribly wrong with it. I know that you do have some range of motion issues to a degree.
I did for like 6 months. I mean, an injury like that,
Yeah.
it was right on the money as far as like 9 months of like full recovery time.
Yeah.
And it actually coincided with COVID happening and the tour being canceled. I was able to play one event at Waco before tour got canceled,
Yeah.
and that was right when I was getting to be about fully recovered, but I hadn't been playing a lot in the last. I hadn't been able to play for like 6 months. So
the reps hadn't been there.
So having that first half of the year canceled, I was able to actually dive back into my rehab and get it 100% before tour picked back up. So,
one of the scariest things that I've ever. I'm so glad that we didn't have to chop your finger off.
Oh no! I mean, I've met a number of people that have lost fingers that way since then.
No way.
Oh yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It happens quick.
I wonder if you would be just as good at putting though if you only had 4 fingers. Like.
I think so. I mean, these two are the money makers.
Right.
You know, the rest are just stacked in for comfort.
Right. Right. A little support here and there.
Barely need that one.
All right. So we've been talking about your proficiency on the putting green and all that. Take us back to California. Take us back to the scenario where Matt Bell starts playing disc golf. Because you didn't play it as a kid. This isn't like an Eagle McMahon story. This is you had other ventures, other athletic ventures before you got to disc golf. So kind of just like set the scene for us, if you would.
Yeah. I grew up in a very rural part of Northern California, outside of town, where Barsby was growing up playing disc golf at Conant Park and training to be a future world champion. I was out in the woods, had no idea what disc golf was, but I love sports. I was very athletically inclined as a kid. And
when you say out in the woods,
yeah,
like you guys had electricity and plumbing and stuff, right? Like how far in the woods are we?
Well, my dad built our house, so spent the first 7 years out there in an RV while he was building our house.
Whoa.
So yeah, we had a porta potty out there and everything, so it was.
Do you have neighbors at this point, or are you just like kind of?
Everybody out there has property, so we had 10 acres. Our neighbors all had about 10 or 20 acres, so yeah, you couldn't see anybody's house out there. And I grew up. I played a lot of sports. I played soccer and baseball and basketball, but we were the team out in the rural area. We were the worst team in every sport.
Yeah. And
I was always the best player on the team. So as hard as I tried, we'd lose every game.
Yeah, it's tough.
And so in elementary, growing up with that experience, it turned me off of team sports.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got to middle school and high school, I actually ventured towards more solo sports.
Mm-hmm. And you got into what, surfing?
Yeah, that led to like surfing. I'd always wanted to be a surfer.
Yeah. How good did you get at surfing?
I was one of the better longboarders in Santa Cruz, which is saying something. There's a lot of great longboarders there.
You'd be like walking up and down the board, hanging your toes over the edge or whatever.
Yeah, I could do just about everything there is you can do on a longboard.
Really?
But hanging 10 was my specialty for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Did you ever put a dog on the board? Like I see all the dogs and stuff on the boards. Is that...
No, but I surfed with people that had their dogs out there. There's some locals that did it.
That's crazy.
It was pretty funny.
You got some hardy pups, like bulldogs and stuff. I feel like love the boards the most.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. But that kind of led me to working at Pleasure Pizza, and I was a manager there. And my good friend Jeremy, who just got hired there, he wanted to play catch inside with like the little frisbees that we serve pizza slices on.
Yeah.
And we have surfboards hanging in the rafters, so I start carving it through the surfboards back to him, and he was like, "Whoa, what's going on here? Like, have you ever played disc golf?" And I was like, "I don't know, what's that?" And so that was kind of the start. He took me to De La Viega the very next day.
Dude, your first course you ever played was De La?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Try that on for size. Not some rinky-dink pitch and putt in the middle of nowhere. De La Viega. Wow, that's amazing.
But
and did you know what it was at the time? I mean, this was just your first course. Yeah.
No idea. He gave me a Valkyrie and a Challenger.
Yeah.
Those were my 2 discs, and I went out there and I got some pars my first day.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's impressive as it is. I didn't get any pars my first day. I remember that. Disc was not flying straight. I was a grown-up too.
Yeah. I mean, me and my friends, we grew up, just all being as competitive as could be. Yeah. And when we'd play catch with a frisbee, it was just like instant competition. Mm-hmm. So I did know how to throw a frisbee, and that translated really well to disc golf for me, to where I felt like I knew what I was doing right away.
Yeah.
And, after that first day, I was just hooked. Like, I went up there every day for the next couple of years and played by myself.
Like
all
slowly
day long.
transferred out of surfing into disc golf to a
Yeah,
degree?
for like the first year I did both. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd surf in the morning, disc golf in the afternoon, and then it turned into more disc golf and less surfing.
Yeah. Start to hustle the local crew, start to make a little money.
A little bit.
Yeah. All right, so when did you start getting into tournaments then?
In 2011 was when the World Championships came to Santa Cruz, and that was how I found out about like the tournament scene. So I ended up volunteering for Worlds, discovered the tournament scene, and then when Masters Cup rolled around a couple months later, I got my PGA number and played in the intermediate division.
Yeah, took it down.
Not at first, I didn't.
Okay.
I mean, I took an 8 on my second hole.
Okay.
And
What hole was it?
it was hole 2 at Pinto Lake.
Okay, I don't know that course.
Yeah, but it's not an easy hole. But yeah, I managed to take an 8, and then I made like a 50-footer on top of the world last hole of the tournament to win by 2.
Whoa.
I had thrown it out of bounds. The kid who was in second was about 30 feet away for a birdie, so I needed that
Yeah.
putt to
If you had missed your
clinch
par,
it.
he had hit his birdie, could have gone into a playoff.
Would have been a playoff, yeah.
Wow.
So I was pretty hooked after that.
Dude's
I mean,
clutch from the get-go.
yeah, being as competitive as I am, and then being able to climb back in and win it on the last hole, I was hooked. That was just
Dang.
tops for me.
So then take us into like the beginning of your open status and like how you know, because there's a long ways between hitting a 50-footer in an intermediate tournament and then being able to compete, find yourself capable of competing against the top in the world. And at that time, I mean, Barsby was in the area you mentioned, and then a bunch of people that nobody know about that are fantastic putters.
Oh yeah,
And California is full of putters. So
absolutely.
it's no surprise that somehow you came out of there with a pure stroke.
Yeah.
So how did the open thing happen? When did that start?
Well, once I started playing tournaments and started looking into like, the better players around the area, I had Nate Doss and Avery, namely, to look up to in the Santa Cruz area. So I was able to kind of mold my putt as kind of a mix between those two guys, really, and just worked on it day and night, basically.
Yeah.
And got pretty good at putting before I decided that I was going to actually try to tour and play disc golf.
Yeah.
So it wasn't much longer after that. In 2012, I moved back up to my hometown in Nevada City, and me and my friends designed a course that became my training grounds up there. And talking about great players that maybe people aren't familiar with, we had Jerry Escherman in town, and he was the magician. We called him Baby Jesus because he could putt with the wizard like nobody else. It was amazing.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, so I had him to battle against for a couple years.
Yeah. You don't know what's possible until you see somebody do it too.
Oh yeah.
When you watch somebody hit every putt they look at, you're like, okay, I guess I can do that too if I try hard enough.
Yeah, there was this amazing pocket of great putters in that area, and I really think it goes back to Jeff and Johnny Listman. They're from that area. And so, 20 years prior to me moving there was 2 of the best players in the world. One of them was the only guy that could give Climo a run for his money at his peak. So those guys really were in that area pushing the level for everybody, and you could tell by the time I got there, everybody was really good at putting already.
And did they have the nose down style that you and Barsby and some other Californians seem to have picked up?
Jerry's actually a nose up putter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like a Yeti, just a little floater.
Just a little pop, but yeah, a little nose up pop and a floater.
Huh.
And I developed my putt nose up.
Okay.
Just to make it easier for the glide to get in.
Yeah. You've kind of moved away from that, haven't you?
I still feel like it's nose up,
It can be when you want, but it feels like it can be whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I change it up. I don't really try to stick to one thing. I try to just do whatever feels natural at the time.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I
a
feel like-
fantastic little tidbit for everybody at home too. You got to have all the styles. There's going to be a scenario and a situation in nearly every round you play. You're going to have to change things up, and
Oh yeah.
might as well have them all at that point.
Yeah.
So I remember in Iowa in 2019, you were giving Lisa Fakis a putting lesson out back in Cedar Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of walked out and sat there and listened to you for a second. And you were talking in more depth about putting than I believed it could even go. You were talking about the number of rotations that it took from the hand to the basket. And you kind of thought about it in terms of the distance to the basket as well, and how many rotations this putt's going to be versus that putt based on distance. And I was mind blown. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, that it would get this complicated. You know, I'd spent my entire career to that point trying to simplify everything, and that seemed like we were actually getting into the details then. Like, you want to talk to people a bit about what you and Lisa were talking about and what that concept is?
Yeah, I could divulge it here. I feel like this is a good time.
If you want, you know, we might have to pay you extra for this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I still have some tournaments to win. I don't want to help anybody out too much, you know.
Well, I just got Rick to talk about some stuff in the last one, so he's telling secrets. Just give us a little.
By the way, I'm grateful for you to bring that story from Rick, because I'd first heard it from Felberg when I was staying with him in Georgia. He told me the story of how he
built that contraption and
helped Rick and stuff. Yeah, so to hear it from Rick's perspective was awesome.
Yeah, I'd never heard it from Rick.
Yeah, it was the same story. So
crazy.
It was really cool.
Verified,
Confirmed. True story. Yeah. And yeah, for me, you know, I made putting as complicated as I could to try and figure out how to, you know, like Rick, go and make every putt and have it not be a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I kept it complicated for a long time until maybe a few years ago, where it kind of reversed completely, and I was able to get to a place where I was able to simplify my putt and have it just feel as easy as possible and as simple as possible. And
that day in Cedar Rapids, I mean, Lisa's one of the best putters in the female division, and to come to you and ask for advice meant that, in my mind, she was trying to get even better. And what was the spin thing that you guys were talking about?
Well, basically, I broke it down to 3 different distances. The first one being 12 feet away, the second one being 24 feet away, and the third distance is 36 feet away.
Just outside the circle.
And just outside most people's comfort range.
Totally.
And at 12 feet, you take one spin of the disc right here, and that's
all you need.
That's all the effort you need to carry a disc 12 feet. And then you do 2 at 24 feet, and you're making it as easy as possible. You know, like 25 footers win tournaments, you know.
Yeah.
So to be able to go up there and just spin it twice and get it there,
yeah,
just makes it super easy. And then you get out to 36 feet, and 3 rotations will get you there. And pretty much developed it just to help control my putt, to where I feel like my brain is knowing how much effort I need to put into it without putting too much effort into it.
Totally.
And you know, I've been teaching this method to people for about 3 years now, and it's been life-changing for a number of people.
Yeah.
You know,
it simplifies it in their mind too. If all I need is one rotation to get it to the basket from here, like I don't have to wind up, I don't have to do all this crazy stuff. I just gotta put it on that line and give it just enough.
Yeah, and there's more to it as well. Like as I dive deeper into like what everyone does, that's the same. You know, when a putt goes in, whether it's a pro or someone,
what do you mean by that?
Amateur. Like, what is everyone doing that's the same, that's gonna allow that disc to get in the basket? And I feel like there's like a power zone, just like there is with throwing. You know, there's the power pocket people talk about, and there's one for putting as well. And with the rotation thing from like 12 feet, I've been practicing where, I'll only allow myself 1 inch up and 1 inch forward with my style of putting, which is like a shovel.
Yeah.
So you got 1 inch up, 1 inch forward.
You got to make it all happen right there.
And at that point, I'm able to run it as hard as I want confidently. And I'm not going to be missing it a foot over the basket or a foot low or a foot right or left. It's keeping it in that zone towards the pocket of the basket. And it's only this much space. So whatever you're doing to get to that point,
yeah,
and whatever you're doing after is pretty irrelevant, as long as you're going straight at the pocket when you're in that zone and you're releasing it at the end of that zone. It's going to increase the consistency like tenfold, especially for someone that struggles with putting. Like,
yeah,
I've been teaching this to people that struggle with putting, and then they go out and win their league the next week.
Yeah.
First time ever.
Yeah.
And then from 24 feet, I increased that pocket to like 2 inches, where I'm just standing there 2 inches up, 2 inches forward.
Yeah.
And again, I'm able to run it as hard as I want, and it stays controlled.
Yeah.
In that pocket.
It's the explosive environment. It makes sense.
Because anything past that point, and then you're pulling it left and right, or shoving it into the ground,
yeah,
or sailing it over the top.
Was hitting putts from outside circle 2 something that you did right away? Because you're one of the most proficient people outside of circle 2 in the game. I think Greg Barsby's there, Rick and Paul obviously, but you have an ability to float them in there, Anheuser, hyzer, nose up, nose down. Where did that come from?
I felt like it came from, a lot of hard work and a lot of love, Got to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just developing that relationship with the basket to where
is it a different
it's the
level
only thing that matters.
Is it a different level of focus? And are your swing thoughts similar or different when you're out there at 100 feet where you know that you have an opportunity to throw it in? A lot of people are trying to leave it close or whatever. You're trying to bang everything from 100 and in.
Yeah.
You're not worried about the comebacker.
No, not worried about the comebackers.
Yeah. What are you focusing on? Right? Is it different or is it the same?
I'd say I wouldn't really focus on anything other than just trying to get it there.
Yeah.
Trying to do a full putt, and I feel like practicing without the basket helps a lot for that. Because when you're target orientated, it's really easy to come up short on what you're trying to do. If you're not so much target orientated versus feel,
yeah,
and how it feels and how it's supposed to feel, then you can do a more full, confident stroke.
Yeah, stroke that's going through the basket, that you're just imagining a flight with a line that,
Yeah, exactly. So I've never been like so much target orientated as far as flight orientated and trying to match that line that I want.
Mm-hmm. Are you imagining an actual line when you're doing this stuff? Is it?
I feel like most of the time I am trying to be like Rain Man, with all the numbers and everything, all the variables and the wind, and trying to take that all into account so that I can forget it all and do what needs to be done to deliver the putter there.
That's the beauty of it, because at the end of the day, like, we call you a fantastic golfer, a fantastic putter, but what you are is fantastic at reading the conditions, deciding what's happening in the wind, the whatever it may be, and then one time you get the option to make a stroke on it based on all this data you just accrued, and you happen to be one of the best in the world at that. It's pretty amazing.
I mean,
it's a scientist to a degree, It
was cool to see the new stats they had with the strokes gained
yeah.
on the putting green, and
totally.
To be, I think I was second in that, right behind Rick this past season.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's surprising.
So it was, definitely something that I've worked really hard on, and it's paid off for me so far in my career.
Mm-hmm. talked to me about your putting a little bit, some off-season stuff, some sponsor stuff. I want to get into some stories. Go back to 2014. Tell me and everybody else about what your mindset was going into that year and kind of how it came about that you basically won every tournament in NorCal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to tell that story, I'd have to go back a little further.
Yeah.
To 2012, which was when, like I said, I moved back up to Nevada City, built the training grounds, put my head down and grinded for like a couple years, just playing every day, trying to fine tune what I was doing. And that was when I played like half a season of advanced and was battling against Drew Gibson at basically every event. He was turning on at that point. It's just smashing the advanced division. But I was able to get a solid win at the Motherlode in the AM division that year after getting second at the state championships like 2 weeks prior. So that was when my rating went from like 950 to 984 or something like that in one rating transition. So then I went to Open shortly after that. Played a season of Open, cutting my teeth in the Open division and training my brains out, to where when 2014 rolled around, I was ready for NorCal, to where, I went up. Chris Audiego actually took me up to Oregon, played my first out-of-state tournament at the Wortman Open, took that down. Then went down to Buddha Tree and won that event. And then at this point, Nico Locastro had moved to Grass Valley. He was ranked number 2 in the world at the time. And so when Motherlode came around, which is basically the NorCal title.
The gem.
Yeah, the gem. I played some great golf that weekend between the 2 rounds at Conant Park and 2 rounds at Penn Valley in the longs.
Yeah.
I was able to lay some sweet drives down coming down the stretch on the back 9 and get some birdies and hold him off and got him by a stick.
In the Motherlode.
At the Motherlode, so.
How well known were you at this point? I mean, locally probably you had gained a little notoriety, but did Nico know who you were? Like, was Barsby aware of your presence? Like, because a lot of what you're talking about is going up into the Nevada City area and grinding. Like, that's practice being done in the shadows to a degree.
Yeah, it was definitely in the shadows, and I had met Nico right when he moved into town. I went down to play an event in the Redwoods on a very technical course where it's just walls of redwoods. You can't see any of the baskets, and there's a steep slope running through the whole course, so you gotta hit blind gaps and come in at the right angle.
Is that dead mouse?
Black mouse.
Black mouse?
Yeah. So I ended up setting the tournament record by 7 that weekend.
Crazy.
And
super technical course.
Yeah, I won by like 11 strokes.
Insane. Okay.
So
he knew who you were at that point.
Yeah, like he had a vendetta against me, at that point. So, 4 months later, the Motherlode rolls around and I got him by a stick. He was not a happy camper. No, he didn't like that. So that was pretty special for me. I know a lot of the locals didn't like Nico showing up into town and winning. So
yeah,
the fact I got him by a stick, I was a hero to a lot of people.
Right, the local guy taking down the traveler.
Yeah.
So what does that do for your confidence at that point? Do you feel like you have what it takes to tour? Like where are you at mentally? You've just taken down and beaten. Wasn't Nico like number 2 in the world or something?
He was number 2 in the world, yeah. At that point, I didn't really have any ambitions of touring the country and traveling. Like I didn't really know anything about that. Basically, my mindset was winning all these tournaments in NorCal that I'd seen in the amateur circuit, and then playing a year in Open. Like I really wanted to just take down as many events in that area as I could. And I accomplished that in 2014. So that was like,
got to set some new goals now.
Yeah, I got to set some new goals. And Greg Barsby came back from tour at the end of 2014 and saw what had happened and
Came back to the mess that Matt Bell had created.
yeah, exactly. So he was,
Like, dude, this guy hasn't lost since you left, man. We got a
you
new
know,
guy in town.
he was the one that told me about touring the country like he'd been doing for the last 12 years and asked me if that was something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I told him I was up for it. So the next year we set out and traveled the country for like 3 months together.
Your
And
first year on tour, you toured with Greg Barsby.
yeah.
What was that like?
It was awesome. I mean, he's been doing it for so long. He knows people all over the country. So it was really easy for us to get around and stay with people and play events. And then,
Where'd you go that first year?
well, we went to Oregon first, picked up a friend, went to Idaho, picked up another friend. So we had 4 of us that rolled out to Minnesota together.
What are you driving?
We were in his Durango,
All right.
which we called the artillery bunker. That was where we toured out of, and yeah, did a great stretch.
Was it the Majestic up in?
Yep, we played the Majestic, and then we came back and played a big unsanctioned event in Idaho called the Payette River Games.
Okay.
And I won that event the weekend before I came back and won the King of the Lake. So I went 2 big back-to-back weekends, my first stretch out on tour, and was able to make like $3,000 in 2 weekends.
So at that point, are you like, all right, this might be for me?
Yeah, I was pretty stoked on that. And then, the next year we hit it hard, and I went with them all over the country. And
Same, Barsby?
Yep.
In the artillery bunker?
Yeah. Oh
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Drove that Durango everywhere.
And were you sponsored at this time? Like, when did your first sponsorships come about? Like, how did that happen?
That happened pretty early on in 2015. I want to say I went up and played the Fort Stellacome Open and played on the chase card like the 3rd round with Felberg, Paul Macbeth, and Paul Ulibarri. And
Just a couple guys.
yeah, just a couple guys. I felt like I did a good job of out driving them on most of the holes. I was throwing some impressive shots.
Wow.
Struggled on the putting green though. I hit the basket just about every hole for birdie, but only probably a quarter of them went in.
Yeah.
So at that point, Dave was pretty impressed. He got me sponsored pretty shortly after that.
Okay.
He was like the team manager for Latitude.
Right at the time.
That was right when he was building that team, so he got me on there, and I had 3 solid years with Latitude.
And who were your other teammates at that time? I'm trying to think. Dave, obviously, but
We had Devin Owens was like the big one. He'd already been on the team for like a year with Dave.
okay.
Bobby Music,
Yeah.
another guy on the team.
Yeah.
There was a number of us. He put a good team together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get sponsored. You're touring with Barsby. I mean, you're cashing out, obviously. Are you starting to get yourself into the conversation for a win, or what? What's that like?
I felt like I did a good job of progressing throughout the years and getting better each year.
Yeah.
And being able to get an A tier here and there throughout each season was pretty big for just keeping my confidence up, keeping me a believer.
Did you know you were better at putting than most people at that point already?
People told me I am,
Yeah.
and
Start to believe it
I believe them, yeah.
after a while.
But,
And then you win the putting world championship.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Going back to like, what David told me about Ricky was actually right before the Pittsburgh Worlds. And I had set out in my mind to get a world title because I looked up to Jay, the Yeti.
Yeah.
He was the number 1 putter in the world at the time. So I wanted to be like that and have multiple putting world titles. So that was a big focus for me. And then that year in Pittsburgh, my last putt was like a 50-footer uphill into a headwind. And I put my putter dead center into the chains, and the wind blew it back out. And it rolled down the hill. And you had to make your comebackers, right? So the next one, I put it in from the same distance, like 50-footer, and I lost by a single point to Felberg and Ricky.
Whoa.
If that first one had stayed in, I would have won by 2, because that was worth 3 points.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is there any
So they
footage
went
of
into a
that?
playoff. Ricky beat Felberg in the playoff
To win his
win his putting world title. And
Fast
so I had
forward.
a chip on my shoulder, you know. Felt like I earned it,
Yeah.
but didn't get the number. And then the next year I went out and I got my world title the very next year.
And who'd you beat in the finals?
For the putting,
Yeah.
well, I had beat everybody outright,
Okay.
so there was no finals.
Okay.
There wasn't a playoff.
All right.
I think Conrad came in second, though. I want
Okay.
to say he was the only one close to me.
So you knew you were a good putter. You started throwing forehands. I feel like about 2019 when I met you, you kind of started putting that into the game, and it's now become a weapon of yours.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you working on, or is it still the forehand? Just kind of.
The forehand's definitely still getting better. You know, I'm starting to put my hip into it
Yeah.
and getting some extra distance now.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was just going all arm, and
Yeah.
you know, I should be throwing more sidearms.
You
know,
should be.
It's
You
a
got
good.
great sidearm now.
Yeah, so we'll see more of that next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with his new synapse, like it's really easy for me to stand it up and get some good distance on it sidearm. So.
Yeah. So of all the people you toured with, because I know that the list starts with Barsby, but it doesn't end with Barsby. Who's been your favorite and your least favorite person to tour with?
Well, I don't know if I have a least favorite. Like,
That's good news for Cameron.
yeah, that is.
Shout out to Messerschmitt. That's the homie. Just had a kid. Congrats, man.
Yeah, definitely. After touring with Barsby for a little while, I actually did almost a full season with Mike Williams.
Well, I'm not familiar with it.
Mike Williams is a world champion from way back in the day. He was going to be Climo before Climo. He's basically one of the best. And then he had some problems in his personal life that pulled him away from the tour. But if he had stayed on, he would have been a household name. But all the old greats know how good Mike Williams was back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, before we had even the beveled edge disc, Mike was the man. And sadly, he passed away a couple years ago, too young. But I was able to tour with him. We had a great time traveling, learned a lot from him.
Was he playing Masters at that point, or was he playing
Grandmasters.
Grandmasters?
And still out on tour doing it, living the life.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was able to get back into it later on in his life.
Yeah.
And he was good. He'd win tournaments.
Who else have you?
I traveled with AJ Risley for a little while. We did it up and
He's
traveled.
a California guy.
Yeah, Cali guy. And we were able to get together and go on tour for a while. And then, Cameron Messerschmitt and I toured for a while, and that was a good time for sure.
He became a fantastic putter probably during that time, right?
Oh yeah, like when we had jumped on tour, I guarantee you he was the best Circle 2 putter out there.
Yeah.
He even had my number on the Circle 2 green.
Which is wild to even say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to hold him off
For the
through
stats.
attrition at most events. But yeah, he was really good. He still is a good putter.
Yeah. Still is a great putter.
He was the B tier king last year.
Yeah. I mean, he's been known as that multiple years. I feel like not a bad way to do it, though.
No, he's doing good.
There's something to be said for it as well. We got a big tour coming next year.
Yeah.
We've got the combination of the Pro Tour and the National Tour now for the first time ever. I mean, each year the landscape's changed, and this year looks to be one of the biggest. What do you got thought-wise going into that?
The big thing is the majors, you know, that we have an opportunity to play a couple extra majors this year.
Yeah.
We'll be able to hopefully go to Europe next year for the European Open, as well as the new major in Georgia fairly early on in the season.
Yeah.
So we'll see who can like get to the top early on in the season and win a major in April.
No kidding. Yeah, we'll
Which
see
is
who's
not
been
very far away.
Yeah, grinding throughout the off season is basically what it is. Similar to the Masters though, which
Yeah.
gets played second week in April. It's interesting, you know. It's beneficial, I think, to our game to have them spread out like that, and to obviously have more. And for Paul Macbeth to be able to win 5 majors in a year, and then for a kid like Gannon Burr to go 3 years and only have a couple few majors even available to him,
Right.
you know, changes the record books a little bit, skews them to a degree. I'd
It
love to
does.
see consistency in these majors year after year so that we can actually get some records going in disc golf. Feels like
Absolutely.
it's been one of the things that we don't have as much, and it's one of the things that endears you to the sport. If you have these records and you can look back and the history matters, and I think that's all going to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks
And-
to Jeff Spring and the Pro Tour, we're finally getting some tours together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Going back to the same spots as last year as well, are there some spots that you look forward to going to? Like OTB was fresh, Iowa was pretty fresh. And
Yeah, I mean, I always look forward to the Texas swing every year since 2015, first getting to Texas. There's just great conditions for disc golf. They've got the wind, they've
Yep.
got the woods.
Yep.
You know, it's not easy out there on those courses. They
No.
got the Beast,
Yeah,
we got the Dogwood track in Tyler.
Lindsay Park.
Yeah, so that's some real disc golf right there.
It is. And Jonesboro shortly after that. And I guess we bounce over to Georgia. What course are we playing for that? Do you have any information that you might know that I don't?
We're playing WR Jackson every round, I believe.
Are we really?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I only got to play that course one time.
Yeah, and then they had some additional holes that they added in 2019, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, for the Hall of Fame Classic.
Yeah, so we'll be playing a
Yeah.
similar layout to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only time I got to go to that tournament. What a tournament it was. Calvin Heimberg, Adam Hammies went into that playoff, and it seemed like I watched 1,000 feet of putts go in that day or something. It was unbelievable. It'll be good to get back there. That place has good feels.
Yeah, to have a major in the woods, that's
Yeah.
a dream come true for me. So
Totally.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. The drives on hole 17 and 18 at WR Jackson, like 6 foot and 8 foot wide or something.
Oh yeah.
You don't get any chance to relax. In your mind, looming are these tee shots you gotta throw. It's fantastic. It will
Yeah.
be. What did you think about OTB Open last year at the ball golf course?
Man, I really liked it. I know it was a pretty long course,
Yeah.
and definitely the guys that can throw over 500 makes some of those holes pretty simple and easy.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I wasn't throwing over 500 last year, so it was a little tougher for me
Yeah.
trying to hang. But I really liked the course. I liked the design, and
I did too. I wonder if we're gonna see a repeat by Eagle, Rick, Calvin, Anthony Barella. I think we're like top 4 there last year. If we're gonna see some guys who don't throw as far kind of piece that place up, because at the end of the day, I think 20 under par won it.
yeah,
So it doesn't take anything amazing, but
yeah,
why don't you do that? Yeah, take us back to Iron Hill. Take us back to 2019 when you captured that national tour victory, coming from the chase card to beat Ricky Wysocki, one of the hottest, not the hottest players at the time. I mean, you don't accidentally win the Delaware Challenge. Iron Hill doesn't accidentally have anybody win it.
no, you got to earn it there.
Yeah, you do. What was going well that week?
I think it was just everything coming together for me to, which is what needs to happen to win a tournament like that.
Yeah.
Pretty much throughout my career, I step onto a course in a tournament for a tournament round every time believing that something special can happen, regardless of where I am, whether I'm in 1st, 5th, or 30th place. When you step on that course, you have a chance to make history. So just having that kind of mindset going into any round, I think is important, whether you're going to win or not even cash. You
Yeah.
have an opportunity to do something special. So keeping that mindset throughout my career and applying it to, a course like that and a round like that, where, everyone on the card had a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you recall who else was on your card?
well, I
Albert
know
Tam?
Albert Tam was was looking hot
Yeah.
the first few holes there.
Yeah.
And
He had been playing fantastic golf.
yeah.
Went on to get a top 5 at the USDGC, or top 10 for sure shortly after that. But you would put yourself in good position after 2 rounds, but you're still trying to come back on one of the best ever. And Rick,
Yeah.
you thinking about that at all? You know, like, or is it just get the birdies?
Well, in the woods, basically, you're just trying not to mess up.
Yeah.
You're trying to get through those gaps and get down there as far as you can.
Try to progress down the fairway.
And in the 4 or 5 years that I've played Iron Hill, no one wins that tournament without making some big putts coming down the stretch. And so I knew that was going to be what had to happen, especially with how tight it was at the top.
Yeah.
So just coming down the stretch, knowing I very well probably needed to make everything to have a chance. And then the fact that I was able to do that and then come out by a stroke was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. It's such a hard course to finish on, too. For those of you who haven't played Iron Hill, hole 17's a par 5 up the hill the whole way, gap off the tee, hallway, and then, you know, that second shot's huge. It's a great birdie, a fantastic birdie, only matched probably by the birdie on 18, which is also an incredible one to get. And you picked them both up coming down the stretch.
I did, yeah.
I remember watching you. I mean, I was standing on the edge of circle, I felt like, on 18, watching you hit that 25-footer. And you mentioned already in this podcast that 25-footers win championships, but that one there seemed especially hard. I knew you were going to make it, but I didn't know if I could make it at the time. I remember watching that, being blown away, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable that you could birdie that hole given the circumstances and take down that win. That was a defining moment for me. I feel like I had spent a bunch of time with you. I had seen your mindset. I had seen what you just talked about, stepping onto the course and believing something special could happen.
Yeah.
I'd seen you go about that. You had won Hartford. I guess you win Hartford right afterwards, and we're chilling again the whole time. And I'm just watching Matt Bell turn into one of the best players on the tour, taking down the greatest in the game.
Yeah, and I remember going into that putt on 18, knowing I needed to make it, and I felt like all the hard work I'd put in for years came together to where I knew I could step up and just basically set that putt in like I was 5 feet away.
Yeah.
Is basically what I was feeling like, and I was able to do that. I was able to set that putt in, and it felt like one of the easier putts of the weekend for me.
To be in a spot where it feels so easy, like that's what we all want.
Absolutely.
Thanks for letting us into the mind of Matt Bell for a little while, man.
Yeah, no problem.
It's been a pleasure. Anything else you want to say to the people, say to the fans?
Well, thanks for tuning in, and can't wait to get out there again. Tour's coming up soon, and got a lot of things coming down the pipe for me with my new sponsors, so keep an eye out for that. Some good stuff coming.
Where can they see your stuff, reach you at, follow you at?
You can follow me on Instagram, Matt Bell City, and then on Facebook, you know, as well as various YouTube outlets.
Yeah. All right.
Hopefully you'll be seeing me on some coverage soon.
Yeah, 2022 is going to be big. I promise you, Matt Bell's making things happen. Disc golf is making things happen. Thank you guys for joining us. And big thanks to Flight Factory Discs for being the title sponsor of this program. We'll see you guys next time.
All right.
It's Flight Factory, right?
Yeah, got it. Nice.